deployed to Afghanistan on February 20th, 2012, and 18 days in, I went on my first patrol. We went outside our base and walked about 10 minutes, maybe a couple hundred meters, and we started taking fire from the enemy from a village that we were heading to. And at that point, we started to try to figure out where it was coming from, so we started maneuvering around, and at that point, I was following some members of my team, and that's when I stepped on pressure plate IED. I remember going through the air, landing on my back, and then just waited, called out, so my team leader and medic knew where I was. And they got to me and patched me up pretty quickly, and I was on a helicopter headed back to a major hospital in Kandahar within 10 minutes. I had about 5 million things go through my head, I guess, the second that I stepped on it. I remember running, you know, trying to stay low or whatever behind my team leader who was in front of me, and all of a sudden, like, everything was gray. I don't remember hearing an explosion, and I do remember feeling flying through the air, but my first initial thought was, this is my first time being in a firefight. I was like, maybe adrenaline just took over and I don't know what's going on right now. But that only lasted for a second, and I knew something bad had happened. And I remember flying through the air, hit the ground, and I knew I was in bad shape. I couldn't move my legs. But the legs were the most visible injury, but I just suffered a bunch of internal injuries through shrapnel. And I didn't know how serious those were until I got back to the States.
Andrew Smith was just a few weeks into his first tour when the 25-year-old's life was changed forever. He lost both legs and suffered an injury to his abdomen.
So that was always my greatest fear, is that he was gonna go over there and then he wouldn't come back to me.
Just 2 months before Andrew's accident, he was walking down the aisle alongside his best friend, Tori.
Andrew and I met during my senior year of high school during the summer playing basketball, but he didn't speak to me during the entire time. He was actually guarding me at one point. We just never exchanged words, and so I'm pretty talkative. I remember trying to initiate conversation, but he's a very shy guy. And then a couple years later, his first day at Lee and my first day, he walked through and I said, hey, I know you sit by me. Over the next 5 years, Andrew and I were together almost every day. He comes to me one day and says, I want to join the military. But he said, I need to serve my country. He goes, I want to go anywhere and do anything to keep the fight from coming here. He gave me about a 6-month warning before he had to go to basic training. And he goes, and we're at the place where he's getting on the bus, and he hugs his family, and then he hugs me, and he whispers in my ear, I love you. And I said, you know, love you too. But I didn't know if he meant love you like you love your, you know, dog or and I just said, hey, what'd you mean when you said you love me? And he said, I love you more than anything. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I hear a drill sergeant yelling in the background. So I just assumed we were together at that point. I knew as soon as we said, I love you to each other, I knew I was gonna marry him. I knew that I was just like, the Lord is so good, and He prepared me these past 5 years with just this amazing friendship that I was like, wow, I never want to be apart from this guy. The 2 months before he deployed, we just lived every day. But I just tried to love him a lifetime's worth of, you know, marriage, and that's what we did. And that's what we're still doing. When you come from Afghanistan, they're very, very scared of like infections and everything else, and he had open wounds, and so they tell everyone, you can't see him until he's been cleared off and he's in the ICU and you have this gown on and everything else. Well, I mean, I'm usually very good with orders, heard that, and I just said, whatever. So as soon as he got off the ambulance, I came through 2 Army people, raced down to him, kissed him, and I said, we're a team, and we're gonna get through this. And then I think I said hello sometime after that. But I just want him to know that, you know, our vows didn't stop. I meant every word of them, and I will for the rest of our lives.
Through this whole thing, I would not be sitting in this chair on this property without her. I would not be here.
We were supposed to be together. I think we were supposed to be married. I believe in soulmates. I believe there's someone that the Lord chooses for you, and I think Andrew's my soulmate. I think he's my other half.
Andrew and his family walked in faith, holding on to their hope for the future. Andrew made great progress recovering from his injuries at Walter Reed Hospital.
But Andrew's story doesn't end there. Hundreds of community volunteers have come forward to lend a helping hand, and it's all thanks to one man who took a family tragedy and turned it into a way to give back. It's called Steps to Hope.
The night of the tornado, Annie and I had just gone to dinner together. The other two children were out with some friends and spending the night, actually. We got home, started getting some text messages from David saying that there were storms coming from the southwest headed their way.
I walked past a TV and saw kind of, like tornado hits in Memphis, and, I didn't really think much of it.
I remember being in the kitchen just working around and Mark coming in and saying that David sent a text and there's some storms near Memphis, and didn't think a whole lot about it.
Then we got a text that said, we're in the bathrooms, those warning sirens are going off.
Then the lights started to flicker, and one of my buddies had opened the bathroom door, and I saw the wall behind him just kind of like collapse, and I was sitting up on the bathroom counter. And so I jumped down on the ground and did the elementary school tornado thing. And then it was over. I mean, it was, 4 or 5 seconds, and it was just gone.
And then about 7:03, I got a text that all it said was, it just hit us.
I texted my dad, and I said, it just hit us.
I remember when he said that it had hit him, and I remember thinking, we got to go.
Initial reaction was, what just happened? But then once you think it through, you realize, okay, this whole building's on our back.
One of our friends from church was in Jackson. He called me and said, I'm on my way to campus. I told him what building they were in.
I guess the moment that I knew that it was really bad was when a friend of ours that was in town there said, it's bad, you need to come. And at that point, I was half in the car already.
And by the time we got to Monteagle, found out that I-24 was closed from Nashville to Jackson. They said there were 200 trailers flipped on the highway from the tornado.
When they got down to where we were, I saw my phone, and so I picked it up and I called my dad.
We were probably an hour and a half away, and my phone rang, and it was David's ringtone. And the kid said, that's David. And I said, hey, what's up? And he was excited. He was normal. He said, hey, we're coming out. They're taking us all to the hospital just to check us out and make sure we're okay. And his phone quit again. It rang right back. I said, hello, and it was Captain Brantley from the fire department. And he asked me questions about, do you have a child at Union? What's your name? What's his name? He said, I'm holding David's hand. I'll call you when we get him out. It should be about 10 minutes. And that's the first time I thought, why are you holding my son's hand if he's stuck behind a door, and what is going on here?
Well, they pulled us out, and there was like one of those spinal boards, and they passed us along a line of like 50 Union people to the ambulance.
And then 10 minutes later, he called back and he said, David's out. He's on his way to the hospital. I know he's alive. I put my hand on his chest. I could feel him breathing before they took him off the ambulance. And that's when everything changed in our minds.
And I'll never forget walking into that emergency room, though, and just seeing all the people.
They had put David in a coma, so they had put him down because of the pain. And they had a ventilator on him, and probably what shocked us the most was he was absolutely covered with dirt.
Just the concrete, all in his eyes and his hair, and I just kept trying to get the concrete out of his face. It just seemed, but he just looked so, it was just a horrible sight.
They'd already x-rayed his whole body. They said he has no broken bones. He didn't have a cut. They didn't sew anything up, nothing broken, nothing cut. The trauma surgeon came in and he said, we've got 3 issues. He's got crush injuries. And we didn't know what that meant at that point, but when David jumped off the counter, when he saw the wall crack, he did the crash position and put his knees in his chest. So he ended up with his knees in his chest and everything on his back. He had no blood to his body, to his legs for about 5 hours. And so once they pulled him out, his legs were stuck to his chest even when they laid him on the gurney. When he pulled his legs out, now you've got circulation back, and so all the toxins that have built up just flood your body. They shut his kidneys down. The doctor said he's got crush injuries. He will have kidney failure. We'll start dialysis today. And he's on respiratory failure. But we think that's temporary, and that's why we put him on a ventilator.
No matter how bad he may look, you can see him breathing. It's like, he's alive. I'm hanging on to that right now. He's alive.
I do remember waking up. They woke me up and my hands were tied down and there was a huge tube in my mouth. It's like something from a movie, kind of.
David was suffering from respiratory failure, kidney failure, and was paralyzed from the waist down. Compartmentalization syndrome in his legs was causing pressure on the nerves. He was on dialysis for 6 weeks and had to undergo surgery on his legs to ease the pressure. He later underwent months of physical therapy to regain the ability to walk on his own.
The hardest battle for David, and he would tell you this, it wasn't losing the use of his legs. He developed a nerve disorder. They diagnosed him with a horrible disorder called RSD, and it's a nerve disorder for which there's no real cure. There are some treatments that are sometimes effective, but they basically told us he'll probably be on these high doses of morphine and oxy, codeine, to the point that he may not ever be able to go back to school. He probably won't be able to drive a car. And a lot of people who have this can't ever work because they have to take so much pain meds that they're just affected and they can't function.
So that was kind of the darkest times of it all, was just the pain.
And after church was over, a gentleman came up to me and said, I don't want to put my nose where it's not belonged, but I'm a physician and I've got a friend in my office that's a pain management specialist. And I can get David in to see him if you would like. And I said, we'll try anything. We're desperate.
He came in the room and, he was, I'm Dr. Ball and, I hear you want to go back to school. And I was like, yes, sir. And he said, well, we're going to make that happen. So he had the same, he had a similar experience. He went through a windshield in college and took all the skin off his hands. And so he had a lot of nerve pain stuff too.
And he looked up and saw David's legs and he said, dude, we've got matching scars. He starts pulling his scrubs up and he's got skin grafts scars on his legs like David's.
He could kind of relate to me from the side of, I know this hurts really bad, and, but he said,
I'm gonna tell you two things. You're gonna be okay. I'm gonna get you back to school. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna live a pretty normal life.
And then you're gonna be able to tell your story to tons of people that you would have never been able to meet or to impact if this wouldn't have happened.
He said, I know you're scared. I know you don't understand. But he said, it's all part of God's plan. And he's got great things for you. And you have no idea the people that will be affected because of where you are today.
Looking back on that now, we see that, through different churches and schools and wherever that I've been able to share the story, and now through Steps to Hope and all the people that have, in this community that have kind of gotten behind that and got to see kind of where it came from.
Now here's the deal. He didn't change one therapy. He didn't change one drug. He didn't change anything about David's treatment, except he gave him hope. He went back to school in the fall, took his wheelchair, put it in the closet, and used his crutches only. He came back at Thanksgiving on a cane, and he came back at Christmas and said, I forgot my cane. And it was not easy to walk. I mean, he still was affected, but he was remarkably healing. And less than a year later, David was off all pain medicine. And he hasn't had a pain pill in, I guess, maybe 3.5 years. We didn't think originally about starting an organization. What Annie and I knew was because of people that helped us so much during that battle, we knew that God had put us through that to help people that were facing similar battles. We never had plans that said, hey, let's start a foundation or let's start a charity. We just said, we need to find ways to help people.
Through a mutual friend, Mark then received an email asking for prayer for Andrew Smith, a young man who had also attended the same high school as David.
And I thought, what a horrible thing for any parent to go through. And I immediately felt great empathy for his mom and dad. So I contacted his mom by email. I started writing her and her husband. We met them a few weeks later, and I just wanted to see if I couldn't reach out and try to encourage them through their battle, though different in a lot of ways, very similar in some, where your son's away and injured and you don't know what's ahead. And then I decided that I had an idea that I wanted to do something really big for them. Went to 4 businessmen in town, and I said, and I started with some of the guys in my church that had helped on the Extreme Makeover House 2 years ago here in Chattanooga. And I said, I really want to do something for this soldier that's lost both legs. Can we build a house that he can get around in so he doesn't have to fight a normal house? And all 4 of the men looked at me, and 3 of them cried, and they just said, man, what an amazing thing. I will help you any way I can. I told Kathy and Todd, Andrew's parents, I don't know how many times, every time I would send them an email, I always ended it with, often helpless but never hopeless. And that truly is where you are in a long recovery like that. We can't tell you what's going to happen, but we can tell you God has a plan, and it's going to be all right. And we want to help you today, whatever we can do to make that road easier for you, like people did for us.
Steps to Hope has been a great healer. It's been great for our family to be able to, just to help someone else that's going through, without a doubt, I mean, besides losing your child, it's got to be the worst feeling to have a child so gravely injured that you just don't know what's going to happen.
We've been up at Walter Reed for a little over a year, about a year and 4 months now. And last August, so almost a year, we get a phone call from my parents saying, hey, this group is kind of started, and some of the members, a couple of the people go to our church. And I was like, okay. And he said, they want to come talk to you about an idea that they have. So we said, sure. And so they came up to Walter Reed up in Bethesda, Maryland, and we sat down over lunch, and they said, here's our idea. We want to, well, first, we're Steps to Hope, told us the story about David Wilson, Mark Wilson's son, and he said, we want to build you guys a house. Me and Tori were kind of like, what? You guys want to do what? So he said, we want to build you guys a house in 7 days. So we're like, wow. And after talking about it and praying about it, really thinking hard about it, Tori and I decided that would be amazing. So we told Steps to Hope that would be awesome. And from then on, they've been planning for this week.
Me and Andrew just keep saying, can you believe this? Can you believe this, that there's a house there and that this group of people so selflessly is doing this?
The house is a huge blessing, but without prayers even before this project, like I said before, I wouldn't be sitting here.
They revealed to us what their plan was, and we were just blown away. I mean, tears were rolling down our cheeks, and it was incredible.
It's just, I can't even express how I feel when I look over at everyone working here and everybody that's done so much, and the money that's been raised, and it's beyond my ability to even explain how wonderful this is.
It's incredible. I mean, just from the very first part of the early morning when people are arriving, and the enthusiasm and the anticipation, and now all the work that's going on behind us, it's incredible.
The newly created nonprofit chose to tackle a huge undertaking, building a house for a wounded soldier in 1 week's time. And the only way it would come together was if the community stepped up to the plate.
We heard of this project, it's like, wow, what else, what better thing to do than build a house for a hero that sacrificed so much. So
we want to give back. I couldn't be up on the roof doing what they're doing with the shingles or framing a house, but I could help in other ways.
All the guys that are working are very receptive to the cause. They're very encouraged by what we're doing and who we're doing it for, and just the nature of the project that we're working on. And so that's been really neat to see for us.
Experience has just been amazing. Just a bunch of people coming together. You hear a lot of bad news in the world. This is a good news kind of thing right here.
We got to get it done today. So the framing, whatever the framing takes, we're going to get it done today. We've had people from Iowa to
just everywhere have been very interesting.
I'm so thankful that I can come out here and paint this barn, which is nothing in the big scheme of what's going on out here. But I love to, in some way, be a part of this.
The compelling moment for me is Tori. In my generation, there are very few spouses that will stick around. My experience has been that our generation is looking for an opportunity to quit, and she's looking for an opportunity to be faithful.
We just had to push through and take cover when it was real bad and then get back out as soon as it let up a little bit.
I had a very bad car accident in '93, fractured my pelvis, dislocated the hip, have knee injuries, and it's not only devastating to yourself but your entire family. I mean, you almost lose everything, and the last thing that you want to lose is hope. So what they're doing is not only helping them start again, but giving them hope for a future.
The lack of sleep is a little difficult, but the rain we can handle.
We heard the story, and we were going to give a couple bucks, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, we got the landscape, we're there. Yeah, they just touched our hearts, and we're real proud to do this. We're very happy to do it, and our employees have been great about coming out and helping and bringing stuff, and our landscape customers.
I've been helping them build the house, running back and forth, giving people drinks. I love to work. That's better than sitting there and doing this.
Well, we just got to finish up some of the inside trim outs. We got to get the ceilings done, tongue and groove ceilings. We got to finish painting.
I've been out here playing in the poison oak. And then we picked up a little bit at the house. I asked for a hammer and they told me no.
The main thing is this is just where America shines.
I came out because the young man's going to need a home to live in.
But if you look at the way this community, the Appleton folks, the Chattanooga folks, we've had people come down from Knoxville. I mean, you're hearing about it, it's far away, Knoxville, Atlanta, Nashville, and they get in their cars and they drive. And they're here to say, how can I help? They don't know Andrew and Tori Smith, and they're here.
So Andrew, Tori, without any more fanfare, it is my honor to hand you these keys. On the back it says 2 Corinthians 4:16, July the 4th, 2013. And it's got a big S on it for Steps to Hope, or Smith, whatever. Thank you for your service, what you've given up for us. None of us would be here without people like you. And it's been a great privilege to get to know you guys.
After you.
No.
Ladies first.
All right. Wow.
Awesome. Whoa. Gosh. Tornado shelter.
Oh my goodness.
This is awesome.
I love that. I couldn't picture what it was going to be like until we had this home, because now I can start thinking about memories that are going to be made here, and it just helps us to go on to the next process. I would have been graduating law school this year, and then Andrew would have been getting ready to deploy again. So now we can start thinking, okay, we weren't going to be thinking about kids, but now we can start thinking about kids. And, you know, Andrew, you were going to be an infantryman, but now you can do this computer science stuff. And I'm trying to figure out where that fits for me. And it's just really cool. We have all these options now, but we also have a home to, you know, to rest our head in between everything else. We won't complain about our schedule or the amount of people that have been knocking on our door, and I think that'd be really easy to, you know, there's been a couple times where either I'll tell him like, gosh, I just want to, you know, lay down for a second, and he'll, you know what, we're so blessed, you be quiet, and then he'll say the same thing, and, you know, vice versa, so we keep each other reminding how grateful we are.
So it'll be cool to just, you know, be able to thank a lot of people, you know, because we've already had some people say, hey, I was there one of the days building the home, and we're able to finally, you know, meet someone face to face, because we met a lot of people, but by no means did we come close to meeting everybody. And so it's cool to meet some different people and say thank you, and just get to know more people.
We have a lifetime of thank yous. Mm-hmm. We went and ate at Tres Amigos last night because they donated food during the build. And so we decided that's what we want to do. We want to eventually stop by every person that helped out, like, you know, and so we stopped by the bar nursery and just said thank you there. And so we're going to be doing that, you know, with over 1,100 volunteers. It's going to take us a while, but we're going to get to it. We want to have children. We're just praying about it, see it's going to be the right time, but we also want to adopt. So we're praying about that as well. And, you know, the Lord's been so good to us. We know it's all going to work out, and so we're not too stressed about it.
And all it's taken is a group like Steps to Hope just to have an idea. And 1,100 people show up in 1 week to build a house in 7 days. And it's just wild that can happen these days. And so we're very excited to be able to, you know, direct someone to Steps to Hope or help someone out through Steps to Hope in any way, because we've been blessed through them. And if anyone else can be helped out and blessed, then we definitely want to be a part of that.
I just hope that this truly was, and what a launch it was. You know, I hope this was just like a big splash, and they get the momentum just to go forward and help others. And they have such a heart to help young people that have lost, you know, use of mobility, whether, you know, permanent or temporary. And it's just really cool. It's cool for us to jump on board with the next project with Team Austin, and then I know Team, you know, Austin, he's ready to jump on board with the next project, and that's what it's about. And these people that they've picked, good guys that just need a little help right now. And Andrew, this entire process, he felt undeserving, and to be able to be there and to help out and to see everyone helping him out has inspired him to be like, all right, well, when it's time for Austin, I want to be there. And so they want that vision, everyone to get that. And like, so we had 1,100 volunteers on our home. It'd be awesome if every single one of them came back to help out on a future project. And I think that's what we are honored to be a part of, is just to help with that launch and to help, you know, spread Christ's love and then Steps to Hope mission.
But Steps to Hope and its mission doesn't stop here with the Smith family. Needs have been rolling in from all over our community, all over our region. You can help your neighbor in need. Be the light in someone's darkest hour. Log on to stepstohope.com to find out how. Thanks for watching.